Hey everyone, it's Lisa with Are You My Cousin? It's another week to talk about DNA with Mary Eberle from DNA Hunters. Hey Mary, how are you doing?
Hi, Lisa. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. Let's see who all is in the chat today while people are coming in, guys. Thanks, Danny. Your comment was great. He's from Ohio. He said, give us a thumbs up. Yeah, I'd love it if you give us a thumbs up, guys. That helps the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel, and it helps YouTube know that you're interested in these types of topics, and they will show them to you more often. So I'd love that. Thanks. Hey, Bill from Long Island. Sarah, I think I saw you and Courtney are watching from Florida. Sounds like I'm so glad that you guys are safe with the hurricane coming ashore down there. I'm up in North Carolina, and right now we're just cloudy, but we'll be getting some of the remnants from the storm. Just not too much, but we'll be getting, in my part, we'll be getting some rain and some wind, but nothing like you guys are getting. Hey, Michelle from Canada. Oh, we have Gail and Michelle from Canada. Shelly from Scottsdale, Arizona. Oh, so this is great. We have someone from Utah. This is great, guys. So glad that you guys could come in and talk with us today as we talk about DNA. Hey, Deb, how are you doing today? So if you are just finding me, if this is the first time meeting me here, I am Lisa. Listen, I run the website Are You My Cousin? And over there you'll find close to 300 blog posts by now. And of course, on the YouTube channel here, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a number of YouTube videos out there. And it's on a lot of different topics for genealogy, but it's really designed to help you find your ancestors and really not be overwhelmed in the process, because it can certainly be overwhelming at times. So I'd love for you to feel free to explore any of that you might be interested in. Lots of folks coming in here. Hey, Dave, good to see you guys again. And Jerry and Crystal and Vicky. Wow, you guys are coming from all over. And Lynette is watching from Australia. Oh my gosh. What time is it down there? Down in Australia. But welcome. So I'm so glad everybody is here. Now, over on the website, Are You My Cousin? So just a couple things that are coming up with that. If you will probably notice, you've probably noticed that the holidays are approaching. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. It just happens. But the holiday is, and I'm already seeing a lot of advertisements, a lot of upcoming sales that are going to be happening in certainly the online world, in a lot of different areas, and certainly within genealogy as well. So I will be doing my best to keep you guys updated. I'll post things on the Facebook page when I'm seeing deals that I think are going to be really beneficial to you, that you might be things that you're looking for. And keep an eye on your email, because I will be running my own Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale coming up. So you'll have to watch your email though for that. I'm not quite ready to announce it. So watch your email for it though. And I'll do my best to keep you guys updated on some of the great sales that I think we're going to be seeing coming up in the next few weeks and through the holiday season. So believe it or not, it's time to sort of kind of think about shopping. But anyway, so Lynette down in Australia said it is 6 a.m. in Australia. You are a morning person, my lady. So glad to have you here. Again, once a month, I have Mary Eberle over here on the YouTube channel here to go live to talk about DNA. I know just enough to really get myself to kind of skirt by with DNA, but certainly not the details she knows. Actually, I can get myself in a lot of trouble because I don't know it as well. But Mary is an expert in DNA and genealogy research, and she runs the DNA Hunters. So you can find her at dnahunters.com. And I will make sure I put that in the comments and the description below. And so, Mary, welcome again. Thank you again for coming with us. And I'm going to let you take it away. We are going to be what am I hearing? Oh, are we good?
Oh, I have a siren. I don't know if that was audible.
That wasn't your fire alarm again, I hope this time.
No, not this time. And I have a PowerPoint, so I forgot to mention that earlier before we got on.
Yes. I'm just going to put I wanted to put your link into the chat real quick. It's just dnahunters.com, guys. All right, so you have a PowerPoint. Perfect. We will get that shared over, and let me know when you're ready for me to pop it up there. I don't see it quite yet, though.
Okay.
So Mary's going to be talking about, while she's doing that, she's talking about a case which is really her own DNA mystery that she had of finding her second great grandfather. So I can't wait to hear about how you did it. I always love to see what other researchers do. I like to look over their shoulders to see what it is they did to find their ancestor when they had their own unique struggles.
Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
I can't see it. I can't see it, Mary.
Okay. Let's see. I think this will do it.
Oh, I see it. Okay,
Did that
here
work?
we go.
Okay,
Yep.
great, great. So today, like Lisa said, I'm going to talk about one of my family research projects, and it's who is one of my second great grandfathers. And this will be a part one to this talk because there's actually quite a bit of work that I've done, and it doesn't fit into this time frame. So next week I will give you part two. Hopefully that's the second and last. And I did want to say that for any of you I might have talked to already about this situation, it actually has taken a turn, and I'll focus on that more during part two. This presentation is more of the background in terms of how did I even know something wasn't right? So let's start out on that. So the family mystery is who is my second great grandfather? And this person would be the father or the biological father of my great grandmother, whose name is Rosalia, but we call her Rose. And we call her Rose too because her mother was Rose number one. And actually, although it doesn't come up in this presentation, there is a Rose number three. So in this line, at three different generations, there were Roses. And my great grandmother is Rose number two. My second great is Rose number one. So Rose number one, these are the facts that we have figured out for her. She was born in present-day Poland. Back then it was Germany. And she emigrated to Quebec, Canada, as a 21-year-old. And she was by herself. There was another family by the same surname, but as far as I know, they weren't connected biologically. So she gave birth to Rose number two a couple years, I guess a year and a half after she arrived in Canada. And initially, I wasn't sure if she was born while her mom was still in Quebec or if they had actually moved a little bit further east, because ultimately they came to Wisconsin in 1865, and the following year in 1866, Rose number one married her husband, and at this point, her daughter, Rose number two, was 3 years old. So we've got this kind of anomaly that my sister identified many years ago about, well, are we really sure the husband, whose name is Gustav Seaman, is that really Rose number two's biological father? So this is, like many of you, a family mystery that's been going on for a very long time. This is a picture on the right side with an arrow pointing at Rose number two, and her husband is on her side, and some of her daughters are standing behind her. And this picture is in Wisconsin, so now Rose, who's come to Wisconsin as about a 2-year-old, she's now a grown woman with her own family. And one thing to think about, of course, is there a family story about this situation? And my sister and I were just talking last night, and she said, Aunt Lorraine, who's this part of the family, she said we have ancestors or family from Canada. And we're not sure if she's talking about this Rose situation, or we also have cousins on another line that moved to Canada and were crossing the border between Canada and Montana. And, maybe she's talking about that part of the family. So family stories, I wish we would have grilled Aunt Lorraine a little bit more before she passed away, but unfortunately we did not. And her brother, who's our father, is also deceased. So family stories, we're kind of left with this little bit of a story about Canada and then some photographs. There are also census records and some vital records that I'll share with you. And I'm just, in the back of my head, I am wondering when I'm looking at these kinds of records, how much weight should be given to them. This is a census record from 1870, and Rose number 2 is in yellow. She is a 7-year-old, and she's got 2 little sisters. And it does say that Rose was born in Canada. Her parents are her mother, Rose number 1, and Rose's husband, Gustav. And sometimes he's listed as Seaman or Simon, Seymour, or Simmer. So it's been hard to track him down with those variations on his name. And he also died in a sawmill accident when the girls were quite young. So we're not sure where he's buried. He's kind of a mystery. But we do know from the census that he comes from Germany. And that's shown over here. Rose number 1 is from Prussia. So today, like I said, she's from present-day Poland. And then the other 2 girls were born in Wisconsin. So if you didn't notice that there was that anomaly of Rose's father being married to her mother when she was 3 years old, you probably would just take this and take it as, well, this is her father, because she's listed as the daughter. So maybe not here, but in other records, she's listed as the daughter. Okay. On Rose number 2's marriage record, so now we've got a vital record, it has her father as Christoph Simon. And I think that this is just a transcription error, that she probably said it was Gustav Simon and the person heard Christoph, but that can be seen right here. So it's the father of the wife, and the wife being Rose number 2. So, and that she was born in Canada. So based on the census records and the vital records, Gustav is her father. But when I looked at my DNA matches and the matches of my aunt for people with that Simon or Seaman or Seymour or variations on that, when I looked at matches having that surname, I really didn't have any. So to me, that meant that there's no biological or DNA evidence to say that Gustav Simon is her father. So then, the next question, of course, is, well, who was her father? And for this, I did some target testing. So target testing is where you reach out to people and you ask them to test. And oftentimes it's good to ask people in the older generation. So that would be parents, uncles, aunts, And in this situation, as I mentioned, my father was deceased, but my aunt was happy to test. So she tested. And they were the only two surviving children. So there weren't any other people in that immediate sibling group. I also reached out to a first cousin once removed, and that was my father's first cousin. So the once removed is that I'm one generation different than this cousin. So she's actually in her 90s and in Fort Myers, and she survived the last hurricane. So I was very happy to hear that. So she's still around. And then I could have asked second cousins. They would share the great grandparents. And that's important if that mystery is either your great grandparents or an older generation. Like in my case, I'm looking for a second great grandparent. But at the time, I didn't really know any second cousins on that line. So I'm going to share the family tree that I created for this mystery. And we've got Rose number 2 right here. And she married, and she had my grandmother and a sister. She had a couple other kids too. And in the red boxes down here, I circled the people that I asked to test. So I asked my aunt. I crossed out people who are deceased. I asked my brother, because this is a mystery that goes back into the level of cousins where he's going to match people different than I match. So if it's greater than a second cousin, so starting out at the third cousin level, your siblings will share a slightly different list of people than you do. And then if you go back to fourth cousins, it's going to be an even greater different list of people. And that's just because you're not matching all of your third cousins. So I say it's about 90% of your third cousins will match you if you're at the same DNA testing company. And if I'm matching 90% and my brother's matching his 90%, hopefully that will capture the vast majority of our matches. So it's nice to have somebody one generation up, that being our aunt, and because she will have more of that DNA than we do, because of course at every generation you're halving it. Over on this side of the tree is that first cousin once removed, and that was the set of people that I asked to test. And ultimately, in the match list, I found a second cousin, and that is the niece to that first cousin once removed. And then I also found a second cousin once removed. And this is interesting because it's 3 separate lines of descent. And that's nice because they're going to get different pieces of that ancestral DNA in different amounts. And I thought that was nice that to have these 3 separate lines. I also did have the grandson of this first cousin once removed, but I don't look at his DNA, and that's because whatever DNA he has from his grandmother is like she has it, which means I just need to look at her. I don't need to look at her children or her grandchildren. So let's look at this from a little different perspective. I've just put a line down the center, and it's based on this side, my grandmother. We'll call this group A. And over here is my grandmother's sister, and the people over here descend from her. So I've left out that second cousin once removed on this chart. However, this is cluster B, so they're going to descend from the person who's my great aunt, and then group A, which is my aunt, my brother, and me. And looking at this tree, our most recent common ancestors are Rose number 2 with the mystery father and her husband. So this was a really nice way of focusing in on, who are the matches, who can help me narrow down this mystery. Of course, there's a possibility that these would turn out to be our shared matches. So shared matches are people who match me, and then they match for example, my first cousin once removed. So they're matching both me and my first cousin once removed. And that group of matches can include people from this part of the tree. So Rose number 2's husband, whose surname is Gaib. So I had to look at our shared matches, and if I could see that they were Gaibs, I marked them as such, and I ignored them because the mystery is over here. So this was I felt like a really nice surgical way to focus in on Rose number 2. Of course, we've got Rose number 1, who is a known person. She has a surname of Kuhn, which is spelled Kuhn. And in order to specifically focus in on this person, the mystery second great grandfather of mine, I looked at the match list for people whose surname was Kuhn or who had that Kuhn surname in their trees. And interestingly, the only ones that I have found so far, and so that would be people with that surname in their trees, they belong to different branches of my family tree. So it's just a relatively common name. And so I haven't been able to, as I called it before, surgically remove those people. But I do know that she comes from present-day Poland. And I know the name of the town when it was a German town. I know the name of the town when it's a Polish town. And that will help me eliminate those people if down the road I come across people from that area. So this is my plan. And luckily I had that second cousin and that second cousin once removed who showed up in my match list. And I've got not only people, as I mentioned, shared matches between this side of the tree and that side of the tree. I also have matches, for example, to my aunt. So that's going to be a little messy because that's going to have the Eberle side, but it's more places to pull out those matches from my match list. And let's go to the next. This shows 2 family trees of shared matches. So FR matches people on the A side and the B side. And FR does not match my GEIB matches. So this was one of the first people that I identified, and this person had a beautiful tree. And in the end, this ancestral couple of Peter Bali and Josephine Weiser showed up in other people's trees. So here's another match, CH, and her paternal grandfather has a very similar name, Bali, spelled Ballie. And over here, it doesn't have the IE. But when I worked these trees, I realized that this is the same family as this person. And CH was matching both the A people in my tree and the B people in my tree. And it wasn't that these people matched everybody that I had on the A side or the B side, but they matched one, let's say, from the A side and one from the B side. Plus, a lot of these were shared matches of each other. So FR, I color-coded this Bali-Weiser mystery as the yellow matches. I would look at his shared matches, and CH would show up in the shared matches. And that told me that they're related to each other, likely through this Bali name. And it also let me identify even more people who might not have the Bali name in their tree, but I knew that they're shared matches of people who had the Bali or Weiser surname. So I've got a big list of people who are from this family. And here is my family tree showing this most recent common ancestral couple who's Peter Bali and Josephine Weiser, along with all of the DNA matches who I can trace back to that couple. And I put a green arrow on each DNA match that I have traced back to that couple. And you can see that there are a decent number of matches where I know they go back to this couple. And there are other DNA matches that I haven't figured out how they go back to this couple. But this tells me that, this couple, which is the Bali-Weiser couple, has to be part of my biological family tree. Maybe it's one generation up. Maybe it's a sibling of theirs. But this is shedding a lot of light on the mystery. And luckily, of that Bali-Weiser couple, neither of them are from Poland. So both couples are from Germany. The Bali family seems like they have French roots, because when you look further back in the tree, all of a sudden the given names appear to be French. And I know where they're from within Germany. And then I know where the Weiser family is from in Germany. And neither of those places currently are Poland. So that tells me that I'm barking up the right part of the tree. I'm not looking at Rose number one's family. And what's next? One of the things is using the what are the odds tool. And we've talked about that a little bit in other videos. And I need to figure out where we fit into the Weiser Bali tree, because that's part of my tree. And I have to figure out, how do we fit into that tree? And then also I need to determine how far back I need to build the most recent common ancestors tree. So like I said, maybe it's one of their siblings is the biological father and my second great grandfather. Maybe it's one of their uncles. I need to figure that out. And then looking at more distant shared matches. So that would be people who are shared matches of these green arrowed people, but I can't connect them to the couple at the top. So they go back further in time. So if I'm able to build this tree back further, then those more distant matches should connect to either the husband's or the wife's tree. And the question, of course, is, oops, I'm sorry. Okay, so the question is, are those more distant matches Bali's or are they Weisers? And I also need to look at the most recent common ancestors' vital records. And I am planning on updating you next time. I actually have an appointment at a genealogy library to look at some of these vital records. I found some interesting stuff on Family Search, but they're documents that can only be viewed in person if you're at an affiliate library. So this is exciting. I actually, you know, as the DNA person, sometimes I can be a DNA snob. And this case was a real, like, oh, well, look at that. You know, this, you know, I had a huge breakthrough recently on this case by looking at the vital records. So, and with that, if there are any questions.
I can't wait to hear part two. I'm like, but it's like a cliffhanger. Michelle had a question about what is the WATO tool?
Sure, it's called What Are the Odds? And it's one of the DNA painter tools. And it is a tool where you reproduce a tree. So in this case, it would be that tree I showed you. And then you put in how much DNA is shared with each of your matches. And then you can press a button that says create hypotheses. So the hypotheses are the places where you will fit into that tree. So it might be a person who's already in that tree that you've entered, or it'll say unknown sibling or unknown half sibling, and you know, build the tree out if you potentially can fit in other places.
Yeah, and Michelle, we actually did a video on that. Mary and you and I actually did, or I should say you did the video on that. And I was trying to pull it up, but because I'm streaming on YouTube, I can't get into the YouTube to pull that link for you. But I will definitely get that into the description below afterwards and pop it into the comments too. Because yeah, that we did a thing on that.
And if that was the twinning talk that I've given, so there's a technique called twinning with respect to the What Are the Odds tool, where you can take two siblings that have tested, or two, so like for example, if my brother and me, or in this case, I've used that my aunt and my first cousin once removed, because they're at the same generation. And what it does is it's going to not only consider how much DNA is shared with one person and calculate all of the probabilities from that and tell you where you can fit into the tree based on that. It will take two people. So it'll take my aunt plus that first cousin once removed, I have to enter how many CMs they share with specific people, but it will calculate, it'll include both amounts in order to do the probabilities. And I just mentioned that if that was the twinning talk where I discussed that, I have since, so when I come to my conclusion in that presentation, I have updated my standing hypothesis, or I want to say conclusion, but technically, really, my current hypothesis of where I think this is going. So just to foreshadow that, or just to let the cat out of the bag, in the past, I thought that it was one of the Bali people who was the father.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at these more distant matches, who are the shared matches, well, they have Weiser, or Weiser, however you say it, in their trees. So my current working hypothesis is that the birth father that I'm looking for is from Josephine Weiser's part of the family.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I see you're following on that, definitely. Oh,
yep. So
exciting.
I should, sometimes it's really easy to talk about conclusions, and I need to be more careful.
No, I know. I always feel like it's always as confirmed as I can get it until somebody disproves it.
Exactly.
But no, yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited that you were able to. I was making some notes to myself because I was like, I really liked how you had that that first slide where you had it kind of circled, like how you made your plan of who you were going to request testing from. That was a great visual. It really helped me see your line of thinking. I was making some notes down. I'm like, okay, I've got this one line. I think, what if I did that here? And could I, to make that plan, to make that testing plan. So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, it just kind of like, I've never why haven't I looked at it in that layout? So thank you for that. That's gonna help me out.
Good. Oh, great. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Because I got that one I'm still working on.
Yeah. Yep. And and sometimes people can't target test. I'm really lucky that cousin, I think she was like 86 at the time when I tested her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still alive today, and she's like 92. And a lot of times people don't have that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of instances in your match list, you'll find somebody who kind of fits the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I found that second cousin, and she's one generation down. So she's not as good as my cousin, the older cousin. And then I found that second cousin once removed in the list, and she's one more generation down from that cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I might have had enough to work with if I hadn't had that elderly, quote unquote, elderly cousin.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting because you just never know. Like I had never talked to the second cousin before, and my aunt only talked about the one that I asked to test.
Right.
She never talked about other, the other children's, basically the cousin's siblings. Because
Yeah.
those two, my aunt and that cousin, were best of friends. And they used to get together in Wisconsin. That cousin grew up in Chicago, and
Mm-hmm.
we decided to take my aunt to go see her kind of one last time in Florida. And I just thought, like, oh boy, like this is my chance to ask her to test.
You bring up a good point that, you guys knew about the cousin, even though you hadn't talked to her that much because they were good friends. But, and I talk a lot about this on just traditional genealogy research, is we have to remember that just because stories came down one side of the family or didn't come down our side of the family doesn't mean that knowledge didn't come down a different sibling line. And it's not that there was any strife or anything that happened. It's just the family, we didn't have social media like we have today. So those stories would have gone down, but maybe maybe that family moved a state away. And so there just wasn't a lot of back and forth, and they just weren't really necessarily part of each other's lives. So we don't want to lose something because we forgot to go after those types of stories and information and relatives. Muriel asks, which avenue do you use to test DNA?
Which company?
She used the word avenue, but yeah, let's go with, I think it's company.
Sure. Well, for this, I used Ancestry. I think that's always a really good place to start. And I was able to transfer the results out of Ancestry and into Family Tree and into MyHeritage and GEDmatch also. And unfortunately, I can't transfer into 23andMe because they don't accept transfers. But for those other places, the transfer is free, and but if you pay them their small fee, which is $19 for Family Tree and $29 for MyHeritage, then you'll get a match list there. And I've done that in this instance. Those companies. I should mention that Family Tree DNA, if you're in the United States, they automatically put you into the pool of people that law enforcement can match. But you can alter your settings and change that if you don't want that to be the case. And what's interesting about those other companies is they give the DNA segment information. And I've been able to pull that into another tool at DNA Painter, which is called chromosome mapping. And that has helped me see who some of these additional matches are in this Bali-Weiser network.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of things, guys. I know that the DNA kits are going to be going on sale, so kind of watch. I think Ancestry currently has some. I think they all might have current sales going on. I can't remember off the top of my head. So yes, and I will on the all right, the Tuesday or the Monday before Thanksgiving. We'll have Daniel from MyHeritage will be talking. We'll be here live talking about some things on MyHeritage DNA and using that. So we'll have Daniel. So if you have questions about MyHeritage, that'll be a great one for you to attend, and just watch your emails, because I'll make sure I put it out there through email and on the Facebook page as well. So we definitely have that. And let's see, anything? Do you have anything coming up, Mary? We'll definitely do the part 2, because you've left us on a cliffhanger.
Let's see. I have a December 8th talk that I'm doing, and it's one of those webinars. It's out of state for me, but I know everybody's in a different state or a different country. But on my website, under the events tab, you'll find information about that talk and a link for you to sign up for it.
Perfect. So Michelle had a question. She said she recently found a second cousin once removed. He's 94 years old. Would getting a DNA test from him reap some nice rewards?
I think it would, if he's willing.
Yeah.
And, I had mentioned that I try to start out at Ancestry, and Ancestry does require spitting into a tube. And actually, for this cousin, my elderly cousin, back when she was 86, she had a hard time generating enough spit, but we just kept on going and kept on going. And, finally we got up to the line. And, but sometimes people can't spit enough. And then testing at Family Tree DNA is nice because they use a swab.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can just swab their cheek and you don't have to worry about producing spit.
I've heard that. I've had that question come up before with somebody who had an autoimmune disease and didn't have enough saliva. Yeah. So excellent. All right. I know now I'm like, who else can I test?
Right. Before it's too late.
It's not too late. Let's see. Who else can I test? Fortunately, my family, I have cousins who are younger than I am, but up a generation on the tree, based on my great-grandmother had so many children. My mother is off the oldest, and my cousin would be off, or she was the oldest, and my cousins who are younger than I am, but yet higher in the tree, they were children of the youngest.
Oh,
So,
nice.
the youngest child. So yeah, it was
Mhm.
quite a span there. So anyway, okay, guys. Well, I will let you go. Be sure watch your emails for upcoming YouTube lives. The next one will be on December 8th. With Mary, I've got one that week of Thanksgiving. That Monday of Thanksgiving will be with Daniel from My Heritage, and certainly watch the website and the blog for new updates. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate you coming and supporting us here. Love it if you would hit the subscribe button for the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel. Again, that lets YouTube know that you like to hear DNA content, genealogy content, and they will serve it up a little bit more, and you'll see more of what I've been able to do. All right, guys, have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time to hear the solution to hear the end of the story. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.